Charlie Sims is an understudy at a selective New Britain private academy, Baird. Dissimilar to the majority of his friends, Charlie was not brought into the world to a well-off family and goes to Baird on grant. To pay for a flight home to Oregon for Christmas, Charlie acknowledges a transitory work over Thanksgiving weekend, caring for resigned Armed Force Officer Lieutenant Colonel Candid Slade, who Charlie finds to be a peevish visually impaired drunkard. Charlie's most memorable discussion with Slade turns out poorly. Slade upbraids Charlie for going on and on about his own life and uproariously arranges Charlie out of the visitor house he resides in on his niece's property. At the point when Charlie converses with Slade's niece, saying that he assumes he blew it with her uncle, she lets him know he needs to take the occupation since he's the main individual who applied. Charlie and George Willis Jr., one more understudy at the private academy, witness a few understudies setting up a trick for the school's head administrator Mr. Trask. Following the trick, Trask presses Charlie and George to unveil the names of the culprits. Trask offers a payoff, a letter of suggestion that would basically ensure his acknowledgement to Harvard. Charlie keeps on leftover quiet however seems tangled. Soon after Charlie shows up at Slade's home, Slade, without the information on his niece, startlingly whisks Charlie off out traveling to New York City. Slade has held a room at the Waldorf Astoria and during supper the upscale Oak Club, Slade talkatively expresses the objectives of the outing, which include getting a charge out of extravagant facilities in New York prior to ending it all. Charlie is shocked and couldn't say whether Slade is serious. The following morning, Charlie gets up to find Slade in his room masterfully gathering his Colt administration gun. Charlie is fairly frightened and requests that Slade surrender the gun. Slade rejects. Charlie asks him for the projectiles and Slade consents. They pay an excluded visit to Slade's siblings' home for Thanksgiving supper. Slade is a horrendous treat for the family, as he purposely incites everybody and the night closes in rancor. During this time the purpose for Slade's visual impairment is additionally uncovered. One of Slade's family members, Randy, recounts how Slade used to shuffle projectiles while plastered. One projectile moved away from him and detonated, causing his visual impairment. Slade apparently accepts Randy's disparagement, yet when Randy refers to Charlie as Chucky, Slade abruptly detonates, snatching him by the neck, taking steps to kill him in the event that he doesn't apologize to Charlie. Slade and Charlie leave, Slade expressing farewell to his sibling and letting him know he's never been a decent individual. As they return to New York, Charlie educates Slade concerning his entanglements at school. Slade encourages Charlie to illuminate on his cohorts and go to Harvard. Advance notice him that George will presumably be forced into uncovering the characters of his companions. In any case, with his persuasive dad, likewise a graduate of Baird, behind him, his discipline will probably be light. Later at a cafe, Slade knows about Donna, a young lady sitting tight for her date. Albeit blind, Slade drives Donna in a marvelous tango, por una cabeza, on the dance floor. That evening, he recruits a female escort prescribed to him by their driver, Manny. While Slade partakes in his night with the escort, Charlie calls the ski resort that George and Harry, the understudy who arranged and did the trick, are spending the break at and determines from George that Trask has raised his examination and that George's dad has become involved. The call makes Charlie more tense than any other time. Profoundly miserable the following morning, Slade answers Charlie's idea that they test drive a Ferrari. Slade rubs elbows with the sales rep at the showroom into allowing them to take a Mondial model, with Charlie driving, regardless of Charlie not having a permit. Charlie in the long run allows Slade to drive the vehicle and Slade starts speeding, frightening Charlie and drawing in the consideration of a cop, Ron Eldard. Slade figures out how to pacify the official without offering his visual deficiency and they are requested to return the vehicle. They leave the Ferrari showroom, Slade more discouraged than any other time. While they stroll back to the Waldorf, Slade purposely walks out into traffic and falls in the city. Charlie can get him and they proceed. At the point when they return to the lodging, Slade sends Charlie out on a rundown of tasks. Charlie at first leaves the room, however rapidly becomes dubious. Charlie gets back to track down Slade in his tactical uniform, getting ready to end it all with his gun. Charlie mediates and endeavors to get Slade's weapon. Slade, nonetheless, effectively overwhelms him, taking steps to shoot Charlie before himself. They enter a strained contention, notwithstanding. When Charlie confronts Slade, the colonel withdraws. Slade has a newly discovered regard for Charlie's more courageous consents to return Charlie to Baird. Manny drives the two back to Baird. Slade gives Charlie the cash he owes him in real money and afterward contacts Charlie's face, feeling interestingly what Charlie looks like. He additionally offers Charlie any references he may need from now on and has Manny drive him home. At school, Charlie and George are exposed to a conventional request before the understudy body and the understudy/workforce disciplinary board. As Dean Trask completes his cross-examination of George and directs his concentration toward Charlie, Slade suddenly gets back to the school, joining Charlie on the amphitheater stage for help. George has previously unveiled the names of the culprits. It wasn't clear to qualify that his vision. When squeezed for additional subtleties, George passes the weight to Charlie. Albeit battling with his choice, Charlie gives no data, so Trask suggests Charlie's removal. At this, Slade can't contain his quiet anymore and dispatches into an energetic discourse shielding Charlie and scrutinizing the honesty of a framework that prizes illuminating on cohorts. He lets them know that Charlie has shown respectability in his activities and for the council to not remove him since this is what lies under the surface for extraordinary pioneers and he will make them glad later on. The disciplinary council chooses to put weighting on the post-trial process the understudies named by George, and to give George neither acknowledgement nor honor for his declaration. They excuse Charlie from any discipline and permit him to have no further say in the requests, to boisterous acclaim from the understudy body. As Charlie accompanies Slade to his limo, a female political theory educator, Christine Downs, who was essential for the disciplinary council, approaches Slade, complimenting him for his discourse. Seeing a flash between them, Charlie tells Ms. Downs that Slade served on President Lyndon Johnson's staff. A heartfelt possibility is implied among Slade and Ms. Downs as they head out in different directions. Charlie brings Slade back home, where they head out in a different direction. The colonel strolls towards his home and welcomes his niece's small kids joyfully as Charlie watches by the limo.